Following up on my own question from the first chapter about the gate in front of Ludwig's boss room, as you can see, this is the same gate. So I do believe that Ludwig was the captain of the church hunters who would open this gate and signify the end of the hunt. And in my view, lock the Yarnamites out to fend for themselves during the worst parts of the hunt when the church could be helping them. So I will say, if my theories are even close to correct, and I think they are, just because Simon tells us that the nightmare is, was created by the sins of the hunters. I really do love it, because it gives me a reason to kill the bosses. I love this fight. I think this is a special fight. It's top quality in every way. It's just epic. It's an epic fight. But even more than that, like, I have a reason to kill Ludwig now that I've thought it through a little bit. Like, I think that he was a bad person. And even if I'm freeing him from this hellscape of a nightmare, which I think is kind of what he's in, like, I don't care. I feel like I'm getting, like, righteous vengeance on this person that has all this blood on their hands, all these bodies, lay at his feet. And so the other games are missing that. I think that makes this DLC, to me, even better than it already is, because, I could go through a list of the other games, the Souls games, and there's a lot of bosses that I love, but I don't really get any satisfaction of killing them because I don't really know why I'm killing them. Nameless King comes to mind. I love that boss fight, but I kind of go into his area where he's hiding out, minding his own business, and I kill him and his dragon, or wyvern, or drake, or whatever it is. Like, I'm the bad guy, like, I feel like the bad guy in this, but this DLC gives me good reasons to kill everyone that I'm killing. Anyway, this fight is awesome. I want to do it for a little bit with the music off, even though the music is insanely good. I'm going to try. I don't know if I'm going to be good enough to do this, but I'm going to try to turn the music up before I get into the second phase. So I'd encourage you to pay close attention and try to find something in his character design, or in his moves or animations, or the sounds of the fight that you haven't noticed before, no matter how many times you fought him.
Please help us. An unsightly beast, a great terror looms. Ludwig is coming. Have mercy. Have mercy upon us. at my side all along. My true mentor.
Coolest second phase music change ever, for sure.
Moonlight.
Such a cool fight. Now, I think I probably talked plenty about Ludwig. I think I've said most of my thoughts about him. The only other speculation I have is that his sword came from the Great Is Chalice, and that's based on pretty much just from the description of the lock shield that says the church hunters went into the Is Chalice, and I thought about it and I can't think of anywhere else that would make sense for him to find that sword. So I think he went with the early church hunters into the labyrinth. They went into the Is Chalice. He somehow found that sword. Maybe it was just down there, and since he was the leader of the group, he got to keep it. I don't know. So there's a confusing thing in this game where I don't know where the line of like Great One and kin and, you know, being in contact with the Eldritch Truth, and there's a lot of different, there's like a spectrum of kind of cosmic influence. And clearly with Ludwig, something about that sword. And maybe, well, let's get the sword and then we'll talk a little bit more. I'll forever do this with him. This is the only option I choose.
Tell me, good hunter of the church, have you seen the light? Are my church hunters the honorable Spartans? I hoped they would be. Oh my! Just as I feared. Then a beast-possessed degenerate was I, as my detractors made eminently clear. Does the nightmare never end?
That's the only way that I see fit to dispatch of what's left of Ludwig, is to let Simon put a arrow straight through his eye socket. I'm a fan of that ending.
Oh, he's well and truly gone now. A tragic figure. But he will shame himself no longer. He died with his ideals untarnished. He was a true hero, and earned that much at least. Here, this is Ludwig's guiding light, the blinding thread that led and misled, that consummate hero, a poor brute.
Okay, so see, Simon still has high praise for Ludwig. He was clearly respected in his time. I think Simon's, too close to the church to trust on that. I think Ludwig is just bad, and I enjoy killing him in any form. Let's check this out. Two things. This and then the guidance rune. It's clear that this has some form of cosmic power. It's at least tangentially related to the Great Ones. Whatever power is in this sword. And I think it kind of formed this duality in Ludwig that he would have otherwise become a beast. And I think we see that like two-headed figure, because and it's interesting to me because, like I said, there's like a spectrum, it seems, of how close you can be to Great One status. So we see the one head that is very beastly in like its nature, but is lined inside with eyes. And then we see the other head that actually is a beast. It is a horse, or whatever type of horse creature that he is. So to me, he had this duality in him, where the man he would have became a beast if not for coming into contact with the Eldritch Truth, as we'll call it, as it's called, through this sword. So very interesting. I feel like there's, like everything else, there's probably much more that you could dig if you, were willing to speculate and really pull all the pieces together. But just from a couple playthroughs and reading all these descriptions, that's the best I got. Let's look at the guidance rune though. Okay, this says he discovered it along with the Holy Moonlight Sword. So I didn't catch that the first time. So they both the Moonlight Sword and Guidance are good at or aid in boosting rallying, which is there's somewhere that health literally says like the will to live or the will to survive. So I think that, exactly like I said, that this sword gave him the will to keep existing, and be able to resist the beasthood that would have taken over because of the piece of shit that he was. Like, he was exactly the type of dude who would have become a hideous beast in the waking world, even. Just like Lawrence did. Lawrence became the first cleric beast in the waking world, and then the beast that we see in the nightmare is the nightmare form of the cleric beast he was. Of course, all this is my, interpretation, but I think Ludwig stayed, a human in appearance. I think he stayed human until he was brought into the nightmare, in which he became the most hideous beast in the game. And so I think that's let me find, where does it say? Here we go. HP, the power or will to survive. So, increasing rally potential increases the amount that you can gain back health once you're hit, which is just more will to survive. Anyway, and no idea if there's an actual connection there. It's just the best I could do with why that sword would have actually kept him from turning in the waking world.
Do you know why the hunters are drawn to this nightmare? Because it sprouted from their very misdeeds. Things that some would rather keep secret. A pitiful tale of petty arrogance, really. High time someone exposed the whole charade. Now, go on ahead. You seek nightmares and the secrets within, do you not? Now.
I do, and let's
go
do
on
that.
ahead.
Alright, so I know I've done a lot of talking and rambling up to this point, but from here on out it's going to be more like searching for lore rather than... I'm not going to spend too much time in this little area right here because we'll be revisiting it later. I'm going to grab the couple items that I can. That's not it. I think there's one more room down here that has something. There we go. We'll be back here later. So from this point on, and I'm going to keep following my original logic. I think that basically from this point on, we're now in the part of the nightmare that's most affected by Maria's memories and her very essence, I guess. And right off the bat, we have another grand cathedral, but this one, instead of having the normal like religious statue symbolism here, we have an elevator going up to where the cathedral and the choir's experimentations would have been. And down here we have a scene that's a stark contrast to the research hall that we're about to go into. Here we have what almost looks like luxury style blood healing beds, and I assume that this was for members of the church, probably high-ranking members of the church. And I don't know. I think this girl is saying the same prayer that Amelia says when you go into the boss fight there. But I mean, truthfully, I thought about this a little bit, and I don't have any real thoughts about there being a white church hunter and or a choir hunter and a black church hunter both here. Every time I've tried to kind of come up with a timeline of when the splits happened, meaning Bergenworth to the healing church to, the School of Menses to the choir, or, which one, my brain starts getting scrambled. It's just, there's too many variables, and I think I'm going to chalk this one up to... It makes sense to me that there's two cathedrals because following my logic with different parts of the nightmare, being connected to different bosses, basically, different old hunters. So it makes sense that in Lawrence's area there would be a grand cathedral, and in Maria's area there would be a grand cathedral, and she would inhabit kind of that choir area. I think she was, one of the, if not an early member of the choir, I think she was in that first stage of experimentation that the choir kind of ended up actually perfecting or getting right later on. But anyway, I think that explanation for these two here is probably that they needed a fight here, and this makes for a pretty cool fight. So. But I'm going to show you my favorite way to take care of them, even though I do enjoy fighting them. Yeah, that's my favorite way. You let them think they have the upper hand. Let's try this again. This is my favorite way to take care of these ladies. So this is the surgery altar, and we have Healing Church members, but I think they're wearing Healing Church gloves. I want to check when we get up here, but I think the choir gloves are black and the Healing Church gloves are white. So this is Healing Church members and not choir members that are performing this like a skull splitting type ceremony. So yeah, that takes care of the black church lady there, and if I don't do anything else, I'm gonna go deal with the other one. So here we have what we see in the Grand Cathedral in the waking world. And to be honest, all these things I think have like religious symbolism that's probably drawing from real world religious symbolism that's over my head or out of my knowledge range. I'm excited to look into that eventually. But one thing I do find interesting is these messengers that kind of look like they're holding up a coffin or holding onto a coffin. It looks like a coffin to me anyway. The messengers clearly are tightly linked to death and maybe kind of like, I don't know, like a representation of death itself. I'm not sure. I have so many different thoughts about the messengers. One in particular that I like a lot that kind of connects the messengers and the amygdalas, but it's probably a little crazy, but I'm sure I'll share it at some point when it's relevant. But yeah, all this artwork, man, is insanely good. Insanely good. I guess I'll go ahead and go down and get the canon as well. Read Lawrence's skull on the way. First vicar of the Holy Church, Healing Church. Skull of Lawrence, first vicar of the Healing Church. In reality, he became the first cleric beast, and his human skull only exists within the nightmare. The skull is a symbol of Lawrence's past and what he failed to protect. He is destined to seek his skull, but even if he found it, it could never restore his memories. So I think when you walk into his room with the skull, that first part of the cutscene, when he's doing the thing where he holds his hand over his eyes, I think that bringing the skull in gives him just enough, just a glimpse out of his kind of nightmarish existence that he's been stuck in, to remember who he was for just a second. And he gets that thing where he's like, he remembers the beasthood taking over, and he does that thing where he puts his hand to his head, like Simon does. I think that's what's going on there. Oh, would you look at this? That's hilarious. That's really funny. wrong way. That's really funny. I was wanting to take her all the way up. I knew that if she gets on the first time, she disappears. I've never seen her. I didn't know she ended up somewhere else, but we'll talk about this in a second. I'm having fun. I'm having fun now. But I've also taken her up and fought her in like the pool. Oh, where? Is she over here again now? She is. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna waste any more time, but I have taken her all the way up into the research hall and fought her in the pool, in the poison pool, and just let her slowly poison herself. I'm actually kind of happy because I do like fighting this girl. Okay, that was worth. All that was worth. Now, as far as this goes, I think it's clear that they were experimenting, trying to elevate people, elevate patients to something like a Great One status, taking from Willem and what started in Bergenworth, and then injecting this extremely brutal method on top of that of physically drilling into the heads of not just patients but anybody they wanted to, basically looking for signs of eyes on the inside. This is, a representation that they were doing that here. And then they definitely did that when they went to the fishing hamlet, regardless of what the fishing hamlet is, if it was a real place in the waking world, or if it was in a, in the celestial plane and the cosmic plane. Either way, when they got there, they drilled a bunch of holes in the citizens there. They drilled holes in the heads of the citizens there, looking for signs of eyes on the inside. We'll see that later, but my favorite part about this is the little beast hiding under the table here. Such cool art design. Now, I've actually only went through the research hall a couple times, and I think I want to take my time with it, and because I think it'll take me longer if I try to rush it, because it's a place you can die pretty easily if these guys gang up on you. And I also want to look for clues about Lady Maria, because I have some theories. I have a theory. And I think I'll just wait until the next time I can play and share that theory with you, and then see if I can find any evidence as I go through the research hall. So we'll call it here. So I'll catch you back right here next time.